Hello and welcome to Intuitive Astrology with Molly McCord. Thank you for joining me today as we look at the astrological energies from February 19th until February 26th. We have just entered Pisces season. So this is the 12th sign of the zodiac, and it brings in energies that support completion, forgiveness, compassion, letting go. There's also an understanding of emotional mastery with Pisces. Because you have been through a full cycle of energies, there's something within our consciousness that's ready to shift and change, and it comes through our emotional nature and our intuitive messages. So these energies are quite strong right now as we move through this week in February, and we have a very interesting energy signature at this time. So as I do this show, the sun has just entered Pisces at 0 degrees. We have Mercury retrograde and back into the very late degrees of Aquarius, but for the most part, Mercury is going to be traveling through Pisces, and then we also have Neptune in Pisces direct at 17, almost 18 degrees. So we have 3 planets in Pisces at this time. Additionally, we have 4 planets in Capricorn. We basically have a never-ending Capricorn season where Mars has just entered Capricorn. This is a sign that Mars really likes. Mars does well in Capricorn, gets things done, moves it along, takes authority, takes charge. There's a sense of purpose when Mars is in Capricorn. In addition to Mars, we also have Jupiter in Capricorn, Pluto in Capricorn, and Saturn is now at 27 degrees of Capricorn. So 4 planets in Capricorn working with 3 planets in Pisces. There's an understanding here of what you have learned in your journey, what you are changing, what is evolving, what is moving forward that you're meant to take with you. And this very strong Capricorn energy is giving us a focus on our purpose right now, the purpose of our journey, the purpose of how far we've come, and also the next purpose, the next chapter. These planets are all direct in Capricorn. Mars, Jupiter, Pluto, Saturn, all direct in Capricorn. This is significant energy still that's going to be increasing as we move into March. And what I'm feeling very strongly is that now that we're in February and we have this Mercury retrograde and then we're going into March with some of these review energies, we are understanding what we can't ignore. There's something you can't ignore, or it's not going away, or it is coming back around in a different form. It could even be that it's been so big or so paramount that you thought it would dissipate or you thought something would shift. I feel like there's just been something so important that's been requiring our energy, and that's going to continue into March. And it's related to the eclipses that we've just been through, those cycles we've just been through. So we had the Capricorn Solar Eclipse at 4 degrees, December 25th, 26th. This energy is not done yet. In fact, this energy of that Capricorn Solar Eclipse is very strong because now Mars is coming through and triggering that eclipse point, which was at 4 degrees. And over this next week, there are triggers happening that show you where you're ready to move forward, perhaps on something that was delayed or you weren't certain or you weren't sure what to do next. This is an action energy that ignites that solar eclipse. And at the same time, Chiron is at 3 degrees of Aries, squaring the solar eclipse point. And this is where the bumps and the bruises are showing you who you are, what you need, what you want, and it could feel like there's something not clicking about how to get there. Over this next week, there's a lot of tension, and that tension serves a very important purpose at times. I don't want that to sound like, oh no, it's going to be a bad week. The tension is about what needs to change, what needs to shift, what needs to move, what needs to be different, how you're ready to take action now that is undeniable. Like you can't get away from it. It's kind of like the feelings keep coming up or the ideas keep coming through. There's this pressure over this next week, and it's the pressure of change, but it's also the pressure of a new consciousness emerging. It's a new part of yourself that you cannot deny. You cannot deny it. And perhaps you've kept it soft or hidden or veiled. Perhaps there's been something you were protecting, or you were trying to manage it in relationship to other people. And this week has a lot of independent self-leadership energy, that there's something that needs to move forward and you can't deny it. And so we have this showing up through numerous energies over this week in February. So not only is it this Mars in Capricorn triggering that solar eclipse in Capricorn, which, by the way, that was a strong releasing solar eclipse because it was working with the South Node. So there's energies here that are showing you what is done. And then Mars travels over that South Node at 5 degrees of Capricorn. That's a big release. But there's something about the masculine energies within us that are needing to be mature about what is changing, ending, evolving. And in Capricorn, there's a sense of, what do I need to do to take care of business? What do I need to do to manage this responsibly? What are my real world tasks that I need to take care of and check off so that I can end this energy, end this chapter that has been quite intense? Now, it could be that over the past 2 months, this has been very big in your world. And it's been something that, I'm getting the image of like wrestling, but wrestling something while wearing a straitjacket and feeling like I'm stuck. What do I do? The physical constraints could be real. The energies working with your ego, with your sense of what actions to take. There's a lot here that's going to be shifting over the next week before February is over, where something is, it's like, again, that panini press that I talked about a few episodes ago. That pressure, it can't hold. It's bursting. And over this next week, the pressure is bursting and it's shifting. And that's because of numerous things here. So not only is it, as I said, Mars across the solar eclipse point, Mars conjunct the South Node is a big release energy. We also have Mars trining Uranus at 3 degrees of Taurus. And this is an energetic next steps, this way, this direction. So it's almost like if you have felt stuck, if you have felt like there's tension, what do? I don't know where to move this energy or what to do next. That exact trine to Uranus at 3 degrees of Taurus is going to give some type of outlet for the energy. And it's actually happening over the course of 3 days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. These are days to take some very well-intentioned action as Mars trines this Uranus and gives energy to the forward-moving next steps, the practical next steps, because these are in earth signs. So there's the practical decisions around the Taurus energies of your possessions, your resources, your money, what you value, what you want, what you have developed. And then the Capricorn energies of your responsibilities, what this looks like for the long term, what the commitments are. There's a connection point here that's actually going to help move something forward. So you'd want to look at the early degrees of Capricorn and the early degrees of Taurus in your chart. And those two places are being connected by this energetic trine. Now, at the same time, this Mars is squaring Chiron at 3 degrees of Aries. And this is where something hurts. Where there is a pain, there is a fear, there's a vulnerability. However, Chiron has been retrograde across this point in your chart for nearly a year and a half. This is not new. This is something you've been working through and you've been healing. And this Mars comes through, squares Chiron, and gives you some kind of shock, like an energetic or electrical zing, something that can be very uncomfortable, it can be painful, it can be hurtful. But it's also a catalyst. And at its highest point, it's a catalyst for understanding something that you need to see, that you need to really accept what is. Okay, there's an acceptance energy here. Now, because this is happening in the early degrees of Aries, Chiron is bringing up some new parts of yourself that are being acknowledged and seen for the first time. And the early degrees of Aries can be, in its lower consciousness state, very impatient, very impulsive, immature. It can be quick to anger. It's the parts of ourselves that are just beginning to come into existence, and there hasn't been maturity yet. So it triggers the immature energies within us that we might not always be aware of and not always see. And then it comes out quickly or it comes out impulsively. And then you're like, oh man, I didn't know that's what I said, or I didn't realize that's what I did. There's something here where this Mars in Capricorn squaring Chiron in Aries is helping you mature and understand what is truly for your best and highest good for next steps. And I feel like because there's such a strong focus on these Capricorn energies, think long term. Something hurts you in the moment, something feels really big, or it sets you off, or it does something to trigger those lower energies of Aries. Well, all of these Capricorn energies are saying, take a break, step away, go breathe, go work out, go do something that moves the energy, and now come into your mature consciousness that wants you to make the best long-term decisions based on what is. And you're going to get support for those pathways, those choices, those ideas as this Mercury retrograde goes back into the early degrees of Pisces and connects with Mars. So Mercury retrograde is always where we slow down. We slow down what we say, what we think. We look at where we've been operating out of maybe autopilot, go, go, go. We've been doing and thinking and moving through our daily lives at a certain speed or a certain level of awareness. Every Mercury retrograde is an opportunity to raise our consciousness as we slow down and thoughtfully review where we're directing these energies in our lives. And as this Mercury retrograde is in Pisces, we're actually being asked to exfoliate and let go of some thought patterns or ideas that existed at one level of consciousness, and now we need to rise up into a new level of consciousness that holds more of the higher octave energies of Pisces. And this would include your ability to be self-compassionate, self-forgiveness, your ability to trust how something feels and to let that be enough, how you can stand in your power with your emotional world and your intuitive self, how you're able to let yourself off the hook. Just be gentle. Know that I'm doing the best I can. I'm learning. I am a work in progress. Maybe I didn't say everything perfectly or make every perfect choice or handle this in the best possible way, but I'm going to accept myself as a work in progress, and I'm going to do better and hold myself to a higher level of accountability. So this Mercury retrograde is asking you to look at how your inner messages are perhaps rooted in a victim energy or a sense of powerlessness. It can show up as blame. It can show up as an inability to deal with reality. Pisces is where we want to escape from a problem or a situation where we don't know how to deal with something head on. Sometimes that Pisces energy isn't equipped with the tools of the real world and how to perhaps communicate or how to be very clear about next steps, what the how-to is. It's important to understand the opposite of Pisces is Virgo. So Virgo provides a counterbalance to where the Pisces energies can feel emotional overwhelm, or I don't know the next steps, or how do I say that, or how do I do that, or how do I go about that. The Pisces energy asks the how questions, but how do I handle that, or how do I look for a job, or how, and then Virgo provides the process and says, okay, step 1 is you want to do this, and step 2 is da-da-da-da. So Virgo provides the practical answers to those Pisces how-to questions, essentially where Pisces feels powerless or lost or doesn't know what to do next and is floating through life. Virgo provides the plan and how to handle the real world and the responsibilities of the real world. Now, there are no planets in Virgo right now, but I want to demonstrate how you find this information and how you are able to direct the energy to an answer, okay? Because Virgo is also very specific, very clear, and about the small steps. So if during Pisces season, it feels like there is a lot of overwhelm or a lot of emotions or a lot going on and you don't know how to handle it, what we are meant to do is truly ground ourselves and take it one day at a time or 1 hour at a time and focus on the incremental ways you can make progress, and that will ground you. That will ground you. So this Mercury retrograde in Pisces meets up with Mars. They will connect around 7 and 6 degrees on February 25th, 26th, so the last week of the month, and they're going to be looking for new solutions, new information, and new ideas of what you're ready to move towards. And so as the mind is asked to be out of the game right now, where your mind is asked to look at what you're overthinking, look at where you go into your fears, observe yourself, observe where you're in some stuck loops or some parts of yourself that feel powerless. You're meant to then bring your energy into the physical world where we have the strong Capricorn energies and to look at what is your responsibility in your life. The bigger overarching themes of your life. You are responsible for fill in the blanks. You are responsible for your own happiness. You are responsible for loving and accepting yourself as is. You are responsible for how you communicate. You are responsible for how you take care of your heart or how you take care of your emotional world. You are responsible for your career, your job, your professional direction. So one of the themes of this very strong Capricorn energy is putting us in charge of our lives and bringing our attention to where different levels of consciousness are not connecting. And again, this is where the eclipse energies probably triggered some things in a very big way. This is where over the next week, we also see Venus moving through the middle degrees of Aries and making squares to Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn in Capricorn. And when Venus makes a square, it's typically known as a soft square, meaning it isn't a hard edge. It shows her what she wants. It shows her what she desires. And it can feel like she doesn't know how to receive what she's looking for. And so the disconnect can show up as a sense of not feeling loved, not feeling valued, not feeling seen or recognized. Because that is how Venus energy gets activated through a square, is that it shows that discomfort of I'm not feeling a connection that is good for my heart. Now, Venus is in Aries, so she is independent and she is fiery and feisty and she wants to go it alone. You know, she's not afraid of that. But these squares to the planets in Capricorn are bringing up something, and I'm feeling it at it's really interesting. I'm actually feeling a lot of energy around patriarchal energies, around something where there is a lack of recognition, or there is something that's not connecting, and it's spurring her on. This is a Venus who will take charge and go her own way, but she can be a little bit too impulsive or quick to anger. And she is outweighed by these planets in Capricorn that are requiring her to do something on her own right now, and to not, it's like I'm hearing to not play a game, like to not play the typical game, to not mess around. Like there's something very serious going on with these relationship energies that aren't connecting. And all of that Capricorn energy, again, is saying, think of the long term. Okay. So part of the Venus energy I'm feeling is actually being very intentional around what you're creating now. Because with Venus in Aries, it's a new cycle. It's a new start. It's a new. And Venus being connected to relationships, our heart, love, self-worth, self-acceptance. Stay the course of what you know is true, because she could be pulled back into karmic loops. And it's almost like this temptation or a desire to maybe do what she's always done, or like, well, if somebody doesn't get me what I want, then I'm going to do this. There is an opportunity for this Venus in Aries to really raise her consciousness right now and to be very clear-headed about what she does want, and to not be pulled into these karmic energies or consequences or something that's actually being cleared out. But it's being cleared out slowly, and it could even feel like it's painful. And Venus in Aries wants satisfaction now. Give me it now. I want to feel good now. I want to eat the bar of chocolate now. Like, this is a very in the moment Aries energy, and Venus wants instant satisfaction, but that's where she could get stuck in a lower consciousness that doesn't serve her heart. Now, this is the feminine energies, right? So these feminine energies are being asked to rein it in and stay in control of your own vibration. And that could even be a more helpful way to look at this energy of Venus squaring Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn, which goes into early March. I'm feeling like this Venus is really having to maintain her own, but there's outside sources shaking her up. And those are the outside sources that feel really big, dominating, controlling, like they have the power. They have the ability to make the decisions or to make these commitments, or there's something very powerful about these planets in Capricorn right now. And it can jolt this Venus in Aries away from loving herself. So it's almost like I feel her vibrating very strongly right now because she's a fighter and she's like, well, I'm going to fight. But there's something right now that's like, I get the shaking the head. No. Be aware of what you're fighting for, because she's actually not in the strongest position of energies right now. And she's being asked to do something in a new way. So over the next week, Venus in Aries is needing, I would say, more of her own space. Honestly, more of her own room. Just kind of a leave me alone, and I don't want to be involved in a lot of other people's stuff. She just wants to be in her own energy field and in her own aura, because she's feeling things very powerfully over the next 2 weeks from the planets in Capricorn. And I did do a separate episode for you about how Venus and Mars are on separate journeys right now. And they're going to sync up early April. They're both going to be in air signs, and they're going to be able to have better conversations, better sharing, more progress. But right now, there's a tightness. There's a tightness in the energies, and it could be affecting how you are honoring and loving yourself, or more specifically, your feminine need to be loved, your feminine need to receive. Like I'm getting the image of standing on the front porch, waiting, and nothing's showing up. Nothing's coming. Nothing's arriving. It's just, okay, I guess I'll just do this on my own right now and trust that that's exactly what is needed, and that's where you're going to feel strong. So try not to take it personally. Like, the relationship stuff is very choppy, and it could be easy to internalize it. It could be easy to think there's something you're supposed to do. But because we're in Pisces season, Mercury retrograde, and a lot of connections to the South Node, it's like, don't be your own worst enemy. Don't make something worse than it needs to be. Don't escalate it. Don't accelerate it. Don't try to get a quick fix. That's not this energy. That's not this energy right now. And that's also why the Venus feminine can feel alienated and can feel alone, because she's looking for something that is good for her heart, but she's going to have to find that on her own over the next week, and that will be the best use of her energy. So that can help with expectations of relationships, as well as simply your relationship with yourself, and to check in and say, okay, am I getting what I need? Am I not getting what I need in order to feel loved? And so what can I do to take care of myself and to remedy that for my own heart? Now, we also have a Pisces New Moon on February 24th that is at 4 degrees of Pisces. And this is always an interesting new moon, because Pisces being the energy of things ending and completing, well, the new moon bringing in an awareness of what is finished for you, of where you have mastered something, where you've grown, where you see something in a new way, in a higher way. This is an energy that is asking you to go higher in your spiritual growth. And I feel like there's something about having a conversation with yourself and where you're going to be at the end of 2020. And I know that sounds kind of crazy. Here we are in February, and I'm already jumping us ahead. But what's important to know is that in November and December of this year, Saturn is going to be back here at the late degrees of Capricorn, and Pluto is going to be back at 23 degrees of Capricorn. So there are themes of right now that we're working through this whole year that has a back and a forth energy, that isn't a quick resolve, that is something that takes the time, energy, effort to reach a new peak, to reach a new level of responsibility for your life. And I'm feeling like a lot's going to change, especially this summer with the 3 eclipses. And for those of you who are in my Soul Growth Astrology webinars that has the 3 webinars for 2020, we talk about all this so that you get a sense of like the lay of the land of 2020. And that webinar is still available if you want to go check it out. Please keep in mind it is intermediate level, which means you need to understand the basics of astrology. And it's all about transits. So you need to understand how transits work. But that helps you look at what's going on in your chart and in your life throughout this year. And so what I'm noticing is how Saturn is currently at 27 degrees of Capricorn, and it's going to be back at 27 degrees of Capricorn in November 2020. Pluto is currently at 23 degrees of Capricorn, almost 24, and it's going to be back here in November and December. So whatever is happening right now, there is a process you're working through at a very deep level of your being that's supporting your life purpose, your mastery, your responsibility, your ability to take charge of your life, your ability to understand what is complete or what's over so that you have room, you have space for the new. And that's always a part of the Pisces season, is that we see what is complete, what's ending, and this can be within us. This can be a part of ourselves that we've been cycling in that we want to be done with. But I'm seeing it as something in our consciousness is rising up and shifting. And it couldn't do it any earlier. It's like so much about this year, about 2020, are these energies that have been waiting for us. Waiting for us because we had to go through some areas of growth and learning and development and healing and blah, 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 the drill, all these things that have been very intense. Well, now we have some new opportunities in 2020 that are requiring us to be very clear about our intentions and who you really know yourself to be. And this could be a private knowingness, an inner knowingness, but that's what is moving out of you. It's like it's starting. I'm seeing these energies coming through at the very, very middle, almost like these vortex points in the middle of each chakra. So all 7 chakras are spinning wheels, and there's like this bursting vortex energy coming through that is pushing out energies in all 7 chakras that you're done with. But I feel like there's a focal point of support coming through. Like there's this rising, spinning, quickening energy that is a birthing energy. But then there's some kind of a jolt between what you're feeling within you, what's coming through and coming out. And it almost like it then hits the real world, so to speak. It hits a physical energy. So that would be the Capricorn energies as well as the Uranus and Taurus. So there's something coming through each chakra, and the energy comes through and it's blooming and it's growing and it's flowing, and then boom, it hits something in your physical world that creates a discomfort. That can be the clothes in your closet. That can be your job. That can be a relationship. That can be anything that's created your life. This new energy is shaking it up and saying, is this really a fit for you? Can this really go further? Can this part of your life, so I'm seeing like a job, okay, let's say there's a job that you've been doing for a while and now it's just not satisfying. It doesn't interest you, you don't care, maybe there's apathy, you've grown out of it, but you don't know what's next. You don't know where to go. Well, what is my next role, or where should I even look for the next job? I feel like this energy coming through each of the chakras is meant to give you an intuitive message or understanding around the next steps. So ask. Simply ask. And that can be a very powerful way to use this Mercury retrograde in Pisces, is to ask a question and allow the information to come through intuitively, or to come through in a way that you won't miss it, that you'll feel it, you'll sense it, you'll know it's the correct answer for you. And then it comes through, and it's really interesting because what I'm seeing is like this new energy coming through the chakra vortexes. It then starts to surround the old job, surround the old responsibilities, surround the old whatever you've outgrown. It's surrounding it, and it starts to surround it, and it gives this energy of love, acceptance, and peace to the current situation that maybe you've been wrestling with, or you have, that straitjacket on, or you aren't sure what to do. This is an energetic movement that is supporting the next steps and supporting what you want to let go of at the highest possible level of acceptance. And it's a slow process, and I'm seeing it as, okay, this new energy that surrounds the old whatever. It then starts to dissipate and fade and clear out whatever that was. And it's slow, gentle, kind, compassionate, accepting. And it's like it just dissolves. So that's what I'm feeling right now around our mastery, is that the mastery of Pisces is in the energetics, is in the way that we work with energy that is kind, but it's not of the self. So I'm also feeling, call in spirit, God, source, the universe, talk to your angels, your spiritual team. Those energies are also very potent right now during Pisces season. And I feel like that's where you're going to feel that you're supported with next steps. It also feels like a beautiful intention for the Pisces New Moon on February 24th is to ask for that level of support, to ask for that spiritual assistance, and to call in the highest possible energies at this time to help you move through whatever else is being triggered. And I know I've talked about that throughout this show, is that there's tension over this next week that is essentially showing you where the energy is not connecting. Now, the energy can come back and connect. And as I said, April has some support for that, as well as when Venus enters Taurus. And Venus will enter Taurus in March on the 5th. Okay, so in a few weeks. But until then, this tension is asking you to stay very conscious of who you are, what you need, and what frequency and vibration you are knowingly embodying. So it brings your focus back to yourself and says, okay, if all this is happening in the world around you, or at work, or with your family, or in a relationship, or all the above, bring it back to this chakra vortex blooming energy that is showing you more of your soul's essence, and to trust that. So it's a very spiritual energy right now that's quite high, and that's what's going to help you move through any of these bumps and bruises and roller coasters, etc., that is coming up over the next week. So the more you can go there, the more you can take care of your spiritual self, the more equipped you'll be to ride some of these waves. And because it's Pisces season, you might also just need time to yourself and be like, I just need a break right now, or I'm just going to go take a breather. Anything that supports your energy field is what you should follow. Okay, so I hope this has given you some good things to think about as we move through this next week in February. Mercury retrograde goes until March 10th, so it could feel like it's an extra long one, but that is simply to help us rise up out of our mind and to look at the bigger picture. And also thank you for those of you who are listening to this show every week. I so appreciate it. I will be back with a Monday podcast starting in March. That would be March 2nd. But I am also taking some well-deserved downtime during this Mercury retrograde in Pisces to catch up, to get some more things done, and to do what I need to do based on what's in front of me. So there is no Monday podcast for a few weeks, but not to worry, that will be back in March. And do keep in mind that I have a library of over 500 episodes for you. I've been doing this podcast since 2012. Yes, 8 years. And you can find the full library on Apple or on blogtalkradio.com/Molly McCord. So I hope that that helps you. If you're looking for anything right now, you might find that one of those Monday healing topic episodes has information that is right for you at this time. So thank you so much for joining me, friends. I so appreciate your time and your energy. And I hope that in this episode you found something worthwhile, or at least something that brings you peace, that you're not alone during these big energies and these big times. So I'll be back next Wednesday for another rundown of the weekly astrology. In the meantime, you can find me at mollymccord.online. That's where all of my latest classes and offerings are found. Also at consciouscoolchic.com, which is where you can find out more about my books, consciousness teachings, and spiritual information. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you back here next week. Take good care of yourself. Trust the process. Trust what's unfolding. Know that you are loved, and make sure that you are recognizing that love in yourself. I'll see you back here soon.